So much for joining us today. Welcome to RenéMarie Stroke of Luck. I'm RenéMarie. What a wonderful show we had initially at the 9 o'clock hour. Kevin and Jim and Ralph, we had a wonderful conversation about home care and occupational therapist and really trusting in someone, and how do you find somebody that is so empathetic and really caring, and that really is the goal when you have something going on in your life that you're not feeling well or you're ill, or and illnesses happen to young people as well, and I know that Jim and Kevin and Diane, of course, are really focused on the senior population and the elderly and the wise. That's the way we like to call them, because with age comes wisdom, and it's such an awesome thing to have relationships with people who are or of older age, because you can learn so much from them. I remember my father, when I used to own a deli in Hawthorne on Lafayette Ave. He used to walk the senior population into their apartment buildings next to us, and he used to ask them questions, and he used to talk to them, and he loved it. And he came back and he said, it's a gift to be able to get life and hear from them. And I'm getting up there. I'm 62, proud to be 62 after suffering a stroke at 26. So I have no problem sharing my age with everybody, because each day is a blessing and a gift. Life is a gift. Always remember that. So today on this show, I would like to give thanks to Diane again, Diane Bromberg from New Jersey Senior. What's her name? I'll think of it. This is a stroke thing is happening. Senior Resource Group of New Jersey. So she is an incredible individual who only does things from the bottom of her heart to help people. And she is the connection between Seraph and us today. And Julie is just a gift. I just found out that Ralph reached out to Julie without knowing that a long time ago when he started Stroke Warrior Radio, and because of her post on Facebook. And that's how I found Julie as well, streaming through Facebook. I guess Facebook knows that we're in the stroke world, and it just shows me posts from that, and she is a gift to the world. And we were talking in the Zoom green room about less is more. But today the title to the show is Believe, because we all feel that you have to believe in what you're doing, and you have to really move forward and have trust and believe that anything's possible. So, and I can't wait to hear about Seraphin's his purpose in life. And Julie, I wanted her to reiterate her purpose in life. And of course, we know Ralph's purpose in life is a Stroke Warrior Radio. So we're going to open up the communications. If you can open up your volumes. So thank you everybody for joining us today. We're so blessed to have you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So Julie, we're going to let you start off. Tell us, we know you, but tell us a little bit about how you started the, what's it called? The therapeutic, give us the full title on that.
Sure. Caregiving through a therapeutic lens.
That's it.
Ooh.
Yes. So for those who don't know me or haven't seen the first time I was here, I'm Julie Wall. I'm an occupational therapist, and I've been happily in the field for over 13 years, loving the work. And for the majority of that time working with brain injured individuals or folks that have had some kind of neurological disease condition. And just through that work with the clients and the patients, I was really starting to notice the disconnect between what we were doing directly with the person, the survivor, and kind of what the caregiver's knowledge base was and what was happening or not happening at home. So a couple years ago, I kind of had this epiphany that I really want to kind of bridge that gap of knowledge between what we're doing in the clinic as a clinician and then what the caregiver knows and can be following through with at home. So hence the birth of Caregiving Through a Therapeutic Lens, because I believe that if caregivers have the knowledge base that therapists do, at least to a certain extent, and they kind of come into caregiving, a care partnership with a therapeutic lens of education, understanding, they can just be a much better care partner to the survivor. And it can become more of a partnership instead of just I give, you receive.
Right.
So
right.
that's how it was born. And it's been a wonderful journey so far. I am working with Brain Injury Association of Colorado to provide some services for the brain injured population. And then there's a new program, which I would love to talk about, that's coming up.
Yes.
And that's going to be more for the caregivers in terms of the education piece. So I can jump into it now, or I can wait if we want to just do some introductions first.
Yeah, wait 1 second. I just want Seraphin to share a little bit about his purpose and his business. So give us a little bit about what your purpose in life is, Seraphin.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be with all of you here today, and hopefully those watching will benefit from what we have to share. So my purpose in life is very simple. It's to help other people. And whatever I do, professionally and personally, I hope, falls into that goal of mine. And so on a professional level, and why I'm here today, I wanted to talk about some offerings that I share with people that get them help, financial help in times of critical illnesses, obviously stroke and heart attacks. But I wanted to focus on cancer, especially with upcoming cancer awareness, breast cancer awareness month in September. People don't seem to realize, all the aspects that these critical illnesses, or in particular cancer, have. And one of the main aspects that people don't realize about healing is the financial stress associated with healing. And so when we get into it, I want to talk about some cancer statistics. There's a saying that, words speak, but numbers shout. And when you look at the statistics of cancer and even the statistics of people going bankrupt, becoming really financially in distress as a result of struggling to fight the disease, it's scary. And so I'm very happy that I'm able to share with those who need it options to help take the financial strain off of the recovery process, so that their mind and their heart and their body and their soul and their intellect can focus on the important thing of getting better and healing, and not have to worry about the financial stress. Because the less stress we have in life, the better we can focus on the one thing necessary, and that's healing any horrible disease that we encounter.
Yep, that's absolutely true. Ralph, give us a little bit about your story, because I know you said it in the last show, and if there are any new viewers, tell us a little bit about Stroke Warrior Radio. Yeah. Because
Oh,
it's another show, so I want us to have everything
yeah.
in one show.
Yeah, but I had my stroke 9.5 years ago. It was I guess an ischemic stroke. I lost my left side. Um, and I started Stroke Warrior Radio after a stagnant recovery of 6.5 years. I found better therapies, better people, other stroke survivors, and got off my walker and cane. I work a full-time job plus the radio. I can run on a water treadmill an 18-minute mile. So all that hope that was taken away from me, I found out that it was never as good as it gets. So I started Stroke Warrior Radio to help other people learn that there is hope and that there's a lot more information out there than we were originally given.
And Ralph reaches over 53 countries. Am I correct in my mind thought?
54.
54 countries. So whatever we speak about here is really going to impact the world. So thank you so much for joining us. So Julie, tell us your new program, because I know you're really excited about it, and then we'll feed into Seraphin and helping others and by options. So go ahead,
Yeah.
Julie.
Sure. So, as I mentioned, this past year, it's been a very exciting new partnership with the Brain Injury Association of Colorado, which is where I am. And so I've been connected with them, providing online dance fitness classes for them, as I'm also a LeBlast fitness instructor. And so that's been a really
Wow.
wonderful gift to give back to survivors. And so we have bi-monthly classes currently on Mondays for that. It's a modified class. And so what
And
we're going
those
to be
are live
transitioning, yeah,
classes, Julie? They're live classes.
they are. Yes,
They're
they are
live.
live classes. Yes. And so they're free. You just have to go onto the Brain Injury Association of Colorado website to register, to pre-register. So you get the Zoom link, but they are free. And I welcome survivors, I welcome caregivers, really anyone who just wants to be in their body, to move, and to feel good again. So that's been part of my partnership with them so far this year. And the new program, which I'm very excited to share, it's called AHEAD, and that stands for Achieving Healing Through Education, Accountability, and Determination. So AHEAD program is something that was originally designed by the MindSource Brain Injury Network, and it's a brain injury education and skill building course. And so it was originally designed for justice individuals who were screened positive for traumatic brain injury. And it was to provide them insight and tools to better cope with and address the symptoms that they're dealing with. And so what we're doing is we're taking that program and now we're going to adapt it for caregivers, because I think that knowledge base is so important, not just for the individual, the survivor, but also for the caregivers to understand as well. So it's about an 8-week education-based program online. And there's topics just such as understanding brain injury and symptom recognition, memory skills and goal setting, emotional regulation, communication mastery, grieving and brain injury, because there's a lot of people that I've spoken to over the last couple of years, caregivers in particular, who they just feel like they're not allowed to grieve. And so they kind of bottle it up. They want to be strong for their loved one, and they don't really give themselves the opportunity to grieve what was lost, to be able to move through and to the other side.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be
no
part
matter
of
what, nothing is going to be the same, right, Julie? No matter whether somebody recovers or they don't recover, your life has changed. Your life has changed.
Right.
And you have to acknowledge that and be aware of that too. And you have to go down the new road. You have to go down the new road.
And kind of working through that. And I think, to expect loved ones and survivors to just come directly to acceptance of the new normal, of the new reality, is not very fair. I think it's important to allow them, to give them the space to grieve and to process these changes and to feel whatever it is that they need to feel in order to move through it to the other side of then acceptance, moving forward, allowing themselves to be in the new normal and to be present within it. So it's gone through one cohort so far. There was another facilitator working with caregivers in Colorado. We're about to start another session coming up next month. And my hope, because right now it's for Colorado families and caregivers, my hope is to take it and then make it more accessible to the wider world. So I'm planning to facilitate this program for our Colorado caregivers coming up. And then I want to transition and provide a wider scope, so anyone who feels that they would benefit from this type of education and skill building within a group setting can reach out to me directly, and hopefully we can start another group together sometime this fall.
Yeah, when you have it ready, let's get together and you could maybe do a little portion on the show so that we could support your press on it. We could do a little portion so that people could see what they can get that. And I would love to take that program, because I'm always want to learn how I can better and help, people, because I talk to a lot of stroke survivors and stuff, and their caregivers. And even though we're talking about brain injuries, that goes for everything, including cancer survivors and stuff. So I think it's really a wonderful program.
Yeah, exactly. Even though it's designed for brain injured individuals and their caregivers, these topics are so universal when you get some kind of life altering diagnosis, right? There's anger that comes with it. There's grieving that comes with it. just to regulate your own emotions is a skill that a lot of us don't have. We
Right,
see it a lot in
right.
kids, but we realize as adults, like, oh, I'm also not really regulating my emotions very well. So how can I, learn positive ways to regulate those emotions? Because emotions are natural. It's part of the human condition. And when
Yeah.
something really intense that just turns your world upside down, whether you're the survivor or the caregiver, it's really important to know how to recognize those emotions and then how you can regulate it for yourself so they don't overload and overwhelm you.
That's so important, Julie. It's so important. Um, Seraphin, as important as Julie's education is, we always got to talk about the finances, right? We were talking about that in the last show. Um, how, they have wonderful programs, but how do you pay for it? Because people do need to get paid to be able to successfully maintain their businesses. So talk to us about the options that you have, and tell us a little bit about your business too.
Thank you. Well, I liked what Julie said very much about, calling this the new normal. One diagnosis can change someone's life. And what was normal for that person yesterday is going to be very different than what's normal for them today and tomorrow and going forward while they're battling a disease. And that's why I also like Ralph's name of his company, Stroke Warrior, because it is a war. It really is a war. And I think every daily aspect of our life is a war against something, right? It's a war to remain relevant to our families. It's a war to, um, you know, just live what we call a healthy, normal lifestyle. And, if there's a way that we can help somebody understand, that this diagnosis, whether it be cancer, that's what I focus on, but again, a stroke, a heart attack, something that is going to change our daily life. What is that new normal? What's a realistic um, projection of what that normalcy is for us? For one person prior to a diagnosis of a heart attack, a stroke, a cancer diagnosis, normalcy might be going out for pizza every Friday night or taking your spouse out for date night, once or twice or whatever it is a month. But then once those diagnoses or those incidents happen, that's not a reality of what's normal for us anymore. The normalcy might be just, mustering up enough strength to tell that person that they're loved. And also, we all want to be a source of inspiration, a source of strength for those with whom we live and those with whom we share our lives. And when we have something that affects us, we feel perhaps less empowered to do so. And so I think that the therapy that Julie offers, and certainly, the message of hope that Ralph is providing for everyone, shows people that you have to be you, the best that you can be on any given day. And someone who just went through a stroke, just had a stroke, or someone who just was diagnosed with cancer, they still have meaning, they still have benefit. And I really do believe that that diagnosis, that illness, that um, event can be a source of inspiration for those around us.
Mm,
Sometimes, if we're the provider, if we're the caregiver, if we're the source of strength, and something happens to us where that changes, we can still be that caregiver. We can still be that beacon of hope for those around us through the way that we are living in that situation at any given time. We talk about caregivers, and I know people. This is coming from your first live stream this morning, but caregivers who are supposedly helping, those that need care get more benefit from the person that they're caring for than they give to them because we all have our place in life.
yeah,
And, your experience, Renee, living through a stroke and now sharing, hope to so many people, you wouldn't have been able to give that hope if you didn't live through it. So there is a reason, there is a higher power. There's a reason why we're put on this earth, even this live stream today. Hopefully, if one person benefits from what we share today, thank God we're doing this. And
yeah,
so I think it's so important. I don't want to talk just finances because then it looks like it's a sales pitch or it looks like it's trying to gain clients, and I don't want to do that. But I would be remiss if I didn't share the reality of the financial aspect with any critical illness, whether it be a heart attack, stroke, cancer, anything. The reality is that 2 million people are projected to get cancer this year in the United States. That's a scary number. 2 million people. And those are 2 million people who are diagnosed with the disease. But within those families, you're talking at least another 2 million on top of it. The loved one, the spouse, the children, that number goes up to 4, 5, 6, 7 million. The cousin, the rich uncle who wants to take care of his family member who is diagnosed. And so it really just trickles down to our whole network, our whole community of loved ones and friends and family. And so these diseases, strokes, heart attacks, cancer, whatever it may be, doesn't affect just the person that lived through it or is living through it now, but it's their whole um, support system and their families and their loved ones. It's a community of you know, people who are affected. And so I think this is so important that we're talking about this today. Again, what I do is I offer, solutions to help deal with the realities of financial strains that come about as a result of any of those diagnoses. And I do it because I really believe that when someone can worry less about how they're paying their bills, to go through treatment, to go through therapy, to go through the recovery process, they're really able to focus on it. And it takes away the strain from the family because everyone wants to be the hero for their loved ones. Someone gets diagnosed with cancer and we all want to rush to their aid. And it's a shame that very often you see on, in the internet, another GoFundMe page that comes about because they can't afford their bills. And wouldn't it be better if we had a community of, family and loved ones and friends that didn't have to worry about, oh my God, I can't help them out. And I know cases, tragically, where family members, out of embarrassment that they can't help their loved one financially, they, it's like a fight or flight kind of thing. They end up not talking to them anymore out of shame because I can't help. I can't be that source of support. I can't personally, mentally or emotionally or financially be a source of support for that person. So you end up backing away from them. And that does a lot more harm than good, obviously.
Seraphin, I wanted to reiterate what I had mentioned, and I don't want you to feel at all that anybody, especially me, is taking it like a sales pitch. I know that we always talk about on the show, insurances and how to pay and when they won't pay. And the fact that you're giving solutions and options to those that are struggling, it's a gift. It's a gift to at least have someone like yourself who will communicate with you, will talk with you, will try to work it through. I remember like being in a stroke support group, and the first 10 minutes we're talking about the stroke situations, and then the rest was talking about how they're going to pay and the finances, and they, when at lunchtime after the work, they have to be on the phone with the insurance company because they have to work, but they can't be there at the hospital with their family. So I just want to reiterate that I believe, and we all believe, that you're a gift providing options for people. Talking about money is difficult. It's difficult, but the fact that you're giving them options is really a blessing. It's a blessing. I just want to make sure we reiterated that. So, Ralph, you have any input into that?
Not yet. I'm anxious to hear more about both programs that you guys provide. I can tell you that I was alone. I did not have a care partner for about 6 years of my recovery. So that is a difficult process for a single individual as much as it is for a couple or a family. So it's interesting. We seem to keep finding people, Renee, to have on the show that have this um,
Knack, the knack.
broad knowledge of
Yes.
the daily, I like the last guy that said, we've day to day is where we live. And I appreciate that you guys do what you do because, you know, as new stroke or TBI or any kind of illness that's a traumatic injury or whatever, there's the cognitive issue, there's the stress issue of understanding all that we're going through. And what you guys are doing is fantastic because it's just we have to get it out there that this information is available. Because the information in my early recovery was terrible. Was not aware of everything I had to go through or everything I was going to go through. Nobody told me that. Um, you know, it's that when you get to the point that you're achieving those small victories every day, it becomes more important to share that with other survivors as well. So I appreciate what you guys do.
Yeah, we are lucky, Ralph. You know, we always, I think in my world, God brings them to us to
Yeah,
to, to really, because you know, with all the people out in the world that we could have on this show, like the whole world is at our fingertips. That both of you are on the show today. I think that's amazingly God work. You know. So before we get into more Sarafin, I would like to hear more specifics on the options and more about your cancer because September is Cancer Awareness Month. Am I correct in my mind thought? Or is it August? Is it August or September?
There's a month dedicated to a certain cancer pretty much every year, but September is breast cancer awareness, and that seems
Okay.
to be on the forefront of people's minds because just again, statistics, one in 4.5, I think 4.7 women are going to get cancer in the course of their breast cancer in the course of their lifetime. And men get breast cancer too. People don't know that, but
Yes,
men get breast
yes.
cancer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I want to go back to Julie for a few minutes and talk to her about this new program and what are one of the can you feed into a little bit more about one of the caregiver options that you're talking about? You know, you're doing it for your Colorado alone, but give me give me a little bit more on one of the topics on the 6 weeks.
Sure, sure. So, and again, I'm still relatively new to the program. I've been working with the facilitator who has been through the caregiver cohort, the 8-week program. And so we're kind of transitioning the material over. It is again, an education-based program. So within a group setting, we are discussing these various topics. So I'll give the example of memory skills and goal setting. So usually within the group, we're first giving a little education on why we're talking about the topic. Why is it important? Why is it applicable to understand, especially as a care partner? What can happen with memory after a brain injury? Why is goal setting important within the recovery? And then there's going to be some kind of practical practice. So again, it's not just education, but it's also skill building within the group. So we have handouts that we might work with and might just be open forum discussion where if we're taking goal setting and we talk about the importance of SMART goals. I don't know if anyone's ever heard that acronym. SMART
Yeah.
goals are important in recovery. So it's very specific to the person, right? So we were talking in the green room about somebody from your prior Zoom call, and they were saying the importance of salience. What is important to the person? It needs to be specific to them. What we're working on with person A is not going to be meaningful to person B, and therefore it's not going to be nearly as motivating and receptive to them. So specific, measurable, right? There needs to be some kind of measurement. I love being able to measure things through action. So talking about the importance of photos and videos throughout the process. How do we measure progress? Because the day-to-day, you don't really know what is changing. Even if you live with the person, the day-to-day, the grind of it, you don't really notice until
Right.
you see your loved one trying to bring a cup to their mouth in January, and then you re-record them doing the same thing in February, and you go, oh my God, do you see that difference? I didn't realize it, but now you can bring it higher. Now you can lift something heavier. Now there's not shaking with it. Whatever the
Right.
progress might be, you can really see it when
Right.
it's in a video format. So kind of how are we measuring these goals? So these SMART goals, it needs to be really important to really understand what each of those things mean. And then maybe even setting a goal as the care partner. So again, practical application. As a care partner, I'm going to create a goal for that, for around my own role. And how can we help our loved ones with memory skills, right? Is it repetition? Is it using outside tools and aids? So again, trying to give very practical solutions and opportunities to try new things, to fail at new things, right? Again, they feel like they have to be perfect and strong and know everything, and we just don't. We have to be able to be open to learning, try something in a safe space, maybe fail, get some feedback, constructive criticism, whatever that might look like, and then try again. And so just creating a safe space around that and learning these different topics and being able to apply the education and knowledge that we're giving within group, and then sending them on their way with kind of homework, right? Things to try, things to practice, either on their own or with their loved one. And then we can always come back and regroup and talk through some things again. So it's a group setting, but my goal with it is to also provide any one-on-one support that's necessary for individuals within the group as well.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And I got to tell you, Julie, you have such an understandable way to present. Some people, when they share information, it's not as clear. And that's a gift. It's a gift to be able to, explain in clear fashion, especially with somebody that has had a brain injury. You're very good at just making things very simple, although they're not simple. They're not simple, but
right. And
yeah.
it's something I've had to learn, again, becoming an OT. When you go through school, you learn all the technical terms, right? This cerebrum, the cerebellum, and all these,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
technical terms.
Yeah.
And then you get into the real life situation in front of a client and they go, you can just see their face. Sometimes they don't
Yeah.
even ask
Yeah.
what.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just see the
Yeah.
blank face and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, let me think of a different way to explain this.
Yeah.
And so that's just, skill based of being an OT for as long as I've been. But thank you. I appreciate
Oh,
that.
you're welcome. I do want to come back and ask you, and I'm sure Ralph wants to ask the same question, is do you have any stroke survivors or survivors feeding into the conversation about it? Because that's important to get it from somebody that's been there, to be a voice in that. But I'm going to let Sarafin talk to us a little bit more about the options, because I think that's really important, and share anything else you'd like, Sarafin.
Thank you. And thanks for putting my presentation into perspective. Insurance is the longest four-letter word in the English language.
It is.
And nobody likes insurance, but
No.
nobody likes strokes, heart attacks, or cancer either.
No.
And in
And you
our
got to
group,
have that conversation, no matter what you like it or not.
yeah,
Sometimes you got to have hard conversations, and that's a hard conversation.
absolutely. And in our business, we kind of use, it's a little bit corny, but you have to buy a plunger before you need a plunger.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
And I don't think anyone says, okay, well, it's 2025. I think I'm going to plan to have a stroke in 2027, or I'm looking forward to a cancer diagnosis in 2028.
Yeah.
And these are things that happen unexpectedly. They're obviously life-changing events. And so while we are healthy, if we could put in place a solution, a product, an insurance product that is essentially a solution to those problems, it makes a lot of sense. It just makes a lot of sense, even financially speaking, crunching numbers, return on investment. If I can obtain coverage while I'm healthy, and those rates will stay the same when I become unhealthy, it just seems to make financial sense. If
Right.
we do, a hard dive into our daily or monthly spending habits, we see that we spend money on a lot of nonsensical stuff. Sometimes we spend money on things that might even get us into a bad place later in life. So it just seems to be, spiritually, emotionally, and financially mature to use our hard-earned income to purchase things that will help us in case something happens. We all have car insurance. We all have, well, not all, but most people have homeowners insurance, and you hope you never use it. A cancer care product or a critical illness insurance product is something equally, if not more important, because we can always move into a friend's house or a loved one's house if necessary. We might stop driving in the event of some of those illnesses, but we're still going to have our body. We're still going to have our needs to go to the doctor and get treatment. And so I really believe, and I've been doing this as well for 13 years. So I've, been doing this for a while to know that this is something that is very beneficial. Unfortunately, in my 13 years in this industry, I've, without exaggeration, probably helped close to 1,000 people
Wow.
with cancer claims
Wow.
or claims for a heart attack or a stroke. It's a reality, and we're not, on this call, we're not on this Zoom if we didn't realize that it was a reality. And so, the products that I offer or that I help people gain access to through various carriers. I don't offer them myself. I'm a broker. I, match a carrier to the person's needs or concerns down the road. Um, we would match something that would be financially affordable while you're healthy, while you're gaining that income that would help you out if you stop going to work because of any of those, diagnoses that we just mentioned. And so, for $5, $6, $7 a week, $20 a month, you could make sure that if God forbid, a cancer diagnosis came about, you'd have literally tens of thousands of dollars that would help you pay for, those costs that are associated with cancer. I mentioned earlier that, bankruptcy is a result, an unfortunate result of some of those diseases, some of those occurrences. Actually, cancer is the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States of America. And
Yes.
among those bankruptcies, the vast majority of people, something like 83, I think it is, last time I checked, 82, 83% of people had health insurance. But health insurance isn't going to pay your rent when you're not going to work to receive your paycheck. Health insurance isn't going to pay the bill for DoorDash or Uber Eats when you don't have the strength to stand over, a hot stove cooking for yourself or going to, the local grocery store to buy groceries. And so there are so many costs associated with cancer, stroke, heart attack that people do not realize. Paying for a caregiver to come in,
Yeah.
paying for a home health aide to help you out with your daily activities so that you feel of worth. Because what happens is an illness comes and people lose a portion of their self-worth, unfortunately, and I believe mistakenly. And so, unfortunately, the almighty dollar, cash is king. And if people don't have that cash, that financial resource to help maintain their independence, even if it's a lower degree of independence, they're going to have a lot of emotional issues. And there's going to be therapy, not only physical therapy like Julie offers, but emotional therapy to have people understand that no, you are worth something. Yes, you are worth something. Your life changed today from what it was before that diagnosis, but you're not less of a person at all. And so, if we can offer a program that's going to help people maintain their self-worth, it seems to me very important to investigate, to make an educated decision that is something that I want to, participate in, or if I don't. And unfortunately, in my 13 years, I've had situations where people called me and said, "Oh yeah, you were here. You made a presentation on a cancer plan. I'd like to enroll in it." And then the conversation goes a little deeper, and I'm always happy when people make that decision. But then I hear the unfortunate news where, well, I was just diagnosed last week. Well, at that point, it's too late, and
Mhm.
that's a tragedy.
Yeah.
It
I
literally breaks my heart.
it was, I think it's been about 10 years, maybe 12 years, when I just purchased my, um, what's it called? My home, when you pay for insurance for your health. not insurance. Oh my gosh, it's like a long-term care, a long-term care. But I was in it. I bought it late. I mean, I in my 50s because a friend of mine, Tracy Lawrence, who is a dear, she passed away. But she's the one that got me to understand that I needed that. And Seraphin, what I want to say to everybody is that, and Julie, the same thing for you, Ralph, the same thing for you, is, that's why we have these shows to educate people, but also people, like you said, Seraphin, have to make a decision before they get into any predicaments. And the other thing I want to say is, you need somebody like yourself who people can trust, because you're trusting their lives with you. They're trusting in you. And I know, just knowing you and knowing from Diane, that you're just a very trustworthy person who wants to make a positive impact in lives. But there's people out there who do use health and age against them, and so make sure that you are trusting in somebody like Seraphim, who who has a record, can really help you, not hurt you. So that was my thought process. Ralph, did you
Well,
want to?
I think one of the interesting tie-ins that I'm hearing here is if you make those decisions and get those things set up from Seraphin's standpoint, it reduces the stress when you do have that event happen. And it goes to Julie's standpoint that the recovery becomes easier. Because I was an independent contractor before my stroke, and I didn't have health insurance or anything. So I was in a bad place for all of that. So, but then I found, I qualified for Medicaid and Medicare because of the disability. But once I had that, my outlook improved, so my therapy improved. So, I mean, that's an important tie-in for me. Julie, do you find that your patients are more or less in a bad place or in a good place when they come to you? As far
It,
as coverage.
yeah. It varies, but I would say more times than not, they're not in a financially stable place. And I work in inpatient rehab hospital settings. I also
Oh,
do neurointensive home and community, where we're getting a lot of workers' comp cases. But in general, especially at the inpatient rehab level, I do see a lot of people who come in and, I mean, they came in not even having a home, not even having a stable home
yeah.
to go back to. So it gets very complex in terms of discharge planning and following up with care after they leave us from the hospital. It really complicates things versus those that come in with the stability, not only financial stability, but also emotional support from family. Um, it makes all the difference in the world, your support system. And so if you have people in your life that can be part of that support system, wonderful. But then having the financial support and stability in that mix, in that, piece as well is hugely beneficial for if something happens down the road.
You
Yeah.
find more and more programs out there for um, like occupational therapy companies or physical therapy or whatever. That's more programs are being developed to help out with that burden.
I personally have not seen
Okay.
that, from my knowledge base of the companies that I've worked with. It's either we're trying to get contracts with insurance companies, like individual insurance companies. Some places work with Medicaid, Medicare, others don't. Some are out of pocket, especially if you want it really specialized and intense. A lot of those still tend to be out of pocket costs.
Seraph, and I have a question, because this is just coming to me. I know we always talk to our age group and stuff, but maybe did you ever think about like doing presentations in colleges and stuff so that we could start to educate our young youth so that they could know get a head start on things.
Yeah, I'm willing to present anywhere, anytime, because I do believe in this, and I know that it changed people's lives. As younger people, they think they're invincible, unfortunately.
Right,
We
right.
know childhood cancer exists. I actually have a coworker who has a 17-year-old son who was diagnosed with cancer in his senior year of high school, and his whole life changed. And so it is a reality, and our job is to educate people. It's their job to listen and allow themselves to be educated and take it home with them and make an educated decision. For all insurances, but certainly life insurance is well known for this, but even cancer care and disability insurance, long-term care, age is the enemy of any insurance program.
Right.
And so when is the best time to get insurance? Yesterday, right? But when is the
Yes.
second best time? Today, because tomorrow it's going to be more expensive. But once you enroll in coverage, you're grandfathered in immediately, so the rates never go up, and that's important. So if you can get rates at a 26-year-old level, and then you're 46 and 56, those rates are going to stay the same, rather than you start to, get older, you feel that your body's changing, you realize that because of history of maybe cancer in the family or stroke in the family or heart attack in the family, um, the odds are against you, and then you want to get it when you're 55 or 56 or 62, it's going to be a lot more expensive, and it just becomes frighteningly expensive, and then people opt out because of that number,
Right.
not
Right.
realizing that the benefit will still be helpful even with that, higher premium. But you mentioned something about trust, and if you allow me, I just want to say something that I think is very
Absolutely.
important. For all practical purposes, outside of the doctor who shared the diagnosis with the patient, and then those immediate family members with whom the patient shared that diagnosis, I am very often the first person outside of immediate family to hear about a stroke or a cancer diagnosis or something like that. And so trust is so important because I'm not here just to offer an insurance product, but I'm here to sit by their bedside. I've literally went to hospitals and help people make claims from their hospital bed,
Mm.
because it's trust. I have to, be a man of my word. That's who I am. And that's at
Right.
the end of the day, that's all we have is our word. And so it's not just, to sell an insurance product and then never see the person again. If I wanted to do that, I'd sell used cars. But I believe in this, and I want to share one story that to this day it brings me goosebumps. But I work very often business to business, and I offer certain plans through payroll deduction. And I had a situation in New Jersey where I was there for an open enrollment presentation, and there was a man who actually applied for cancer coverage a few years back. And in with one of the carriers, there's a wellness benefit that pays cash for any kind of cancer screenings, whether it be mammograms, pap smears, whatever it may be. And so I was sitting with this man, and I told him, I said, you've never made a wellness claim. Let me help you. And he was kind of this rough and tough guy. And he said, "Oh, I don't want to do that. I'm not interested in those tests." And I said, "Why?" I said, first of all, you're paying for the benefit. You might as well take advantage of it."
Mm.
And he said he was focusing on a colonoscopy. And he said he doesn't want that procedure. He's scared of it. And so I gave him a list of procedures that are covered. And one of them was a PSA test. And I do believe in God. And I believe that God's hand was in that conversation. He was with us that day. And the man in question, coincidentally, providentially, had his annual physical scheduled literally less than a month after our conversation. And I gave him the claim form ahead of time. And I said, just go for a PSA test. You're going to be there anyway. And he took the information. Took the claim form because he wanted his $75 wellness benefit. He would have not had that screening done. He asked the doctor for a PSA test, and he was tested positive for cancer.
Wow.
And it changed his life. At the end of the day, $75 is not going to help, right? $75, maybe it's a nice meal out, not even a nice meal anymore. Half a tank of gas, whatever it is, $75. But because of that wellness benefit, he was encouraged, and because of our conversation, he was encouraged to get screened. And early screening, early detection is key to fighting the disease. And literally, I believe, as loud as that sounds, that conversation saved the man's life. He beat the disease, and all his
Wow.
coworkers now have the plan because he's a living testament to what it
Wow.
can do.
That's incredible. That's an incredible story. That's an incredible story. Thank you for sharing. I do want to reiterate, and I hope you're okay if I share this, but Seraphin is sitting in his car because he came out of church to because he's so passionate about this. So, so you just got to do what you got to do. And we're so grateful for you to take the time today to share, your passion for this. And I do want to share before ask Julie about that stroke survivors, having her part of the team. I do want to talk offline with you, Seraphin, about teaming up with you and coming up with a stroke program with my organization and your business, or so that we can reach out to colleges and start to educate young children on this, because like you said, if you buy it young, it'll just help you in the future. I think that's such a, and I'm mad at myself for not being that smart, and I didn't have the parental education, and sometimes our parents don't have the education, so we want to educate them. Sometimes you can't educate the parents because they're locked in their ways, they're not open for change. So if we can reach those young children and educate them, I think that would be a wonderful thing. I think it'll be a wonderful thing if you're open to it.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. So Julie, tell us about do you have any stroke survivors as a part of that conversation? Because I think it's an important aspect to hear directly from us what we needed.
Yes, I think that is an absolutely important aspect of the conversation as well. Again, I prefer to say care partnership, not caregiver when I can, because it truly is a partnership between the two individuals or the group of individuals. Currently with the AHEAD program, like I mentioned, it was originally designed for the survivor themselves. So somebody who is in the justice system, maybe there's some legal issues, and then they got screened and found out later that, oh my goodness, I've had a TBI and I didn't even realize it. But now, like, we're putting the pieces together and this all makes sense. Why is there homelessness? Why is there, legal complications? All of these pieces. So the program was originally designed for the individual who experienced the brain injury. And then it's being adapted for the caregivers of those individuals. So there is that partnership piece.
Right.
So what we're trying to do now is, or what I will be trying to do, is taking the program, this curriculum that was created by MindSource, and adapting it to involve a wider brain injured population. So not just TBI, but also acquired brain injury, stroke.
Mm-hmm.
And so the initial outreach with that program will be to the caregiver, and the hope that they will share this knowledge, share the information, so they can have a deeper conversation about it within their unit. Long term, I would love to be able to offer this program both as a group to the survivors or warriors and the caregivers, and maybe even combine someday to have a larger conversation with both sides of the partnership. It's just for now, one step at a time. So we'll be adapting for the caregiver population first, widen the scope from TBI to wider brain injury diagnoses. And then absolutely, I want to have that conversation and include the warriors and survivors as well.
Yeah.
I'm always curious. What inspired you to do all this?
Well, I kind of mentioned in my little intro, I love the work that I do. I love working with folks who have experienced some form of brain injury. I think it's so rewarding to see their growth and progress. I just was getting so saddened by the gap between what we were doing in clinic and what was not being carried over at home. And just trying to figure out how I could, as an individual, and I'm only one person, but how could I try to bridge that gap? And so it just became kind of a passion of mine. It's, like you, Ralph, I work full time outside of all of this, right? I'm an OT in the world, working one-on-one with clients, and this just became more of a passion project for me to try and support, educate, train caregivers to think more like a therapist, have that therapeutic lens in which they're looking into the situation and caring for their loved one. I truly feel like there is value to that. I think the partnership would be stronger because of that. And so anything I can do, I'm just trying to learn and grasp, what I'm able in terms of resources and education to provide to the caregiver population. And so when I teamed up with BIAC, Brain Injury Association of Colorado, again, the original intention was through my work as a dance instructor. And then I learned about this AHEAD program. And I just thought, oh my God, this would be so amazing to be able to provide that level of education and skill building to a wider population. So not just Coloradans, but to the world. And so that's my goal, is to somehow eventually bring it to the world so more people have that knowledge and training.
Oh, it makes so much difference in recovery once you start learning stuff about recovery, about handling the mental health aspect of it. I mean, to
Yeah.
me, there's 12 therapies, not just physical therapy and OT. There's all those other things in there, the care partners. I agree with you there. So it makes all the difference in the world. Going out as a survivor, making the choice to be a warrior, to go out there and find these programs. I did, surfing. Like I said, I found somebody that got me Medicare or Medicaid after my stroke. I found somebody, I'm not ashamed to say it, at that point, I couldn't work anymore. So I had to get food stamps even. That knowledge is so important to the recovery. And it took me 6 years to build up all that knowledge that I am better now than I've ever been. It's the most difficult thing I've ever done, but it's become the most rewarding.
Mm.
So I appreciate what you guys are doing. I really do. Please don't stop.
Thank you.
So we only have, yes, thank you so much. We only have like a couple more minutes, but I do want to give you the opportunity to, once again, circle back and just share where they can contact you, your business, your website, your Facebook page, whatever it is that you want to share with them. And the last bit of hope, we always like to bring hope to everybody. Seraphin, can you go first?
Yeah, thank you. My website, I'll actually see if I can, I'll stop my video and then you can see the website right on here.
Oh,
It's
perfect.
seraphimwood.com right there. You can see and you can go to the website. There's my contact information is there. And you can reach out to me by text, phone, email, whatever you want. And I would be happy to work with anyone who's interested in learning more. But it is something worth investigating, and I encourage everyone to at least be educated on what's available and then make that personal decision yourself. And Renee, thank you very much for allowing me to be part
Oh
of
my
this
God.
incredible event.
My pleasure. I have a question for you though. So the business that you're in, I don't like the business, that's the wrong terminology, support that you provide for people. They don't need to live in your area, right? They can reach out to you no matter where they are.
Yes, the so insurance carriers, depending on the state they're in, there's different plans, there's different programs, there's different rates. I work primarily in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, but I can work with anyone anywhere. I'm just more familiar with the tri-state area because that's where I live. But definitely, I can get help anywhere in the continental U.S.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I can't wait to continue working with you, Sarah. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Julie, why don't you give the last little bit of information?
Yes. So if anyone is interested in learning more about any of the programs that I'm offering, so that will include even coming to join me for La Blast Dance Fitness online, if you want to move your body, if you're interested in the Caregiver Ahead program, I am hoping to get a group started this fall. You can reach out to me directly. Or if you're even interested in doing one-on-one sessions with me, I do offer that as well for caregiver support and training, one-on-one sessions. So if anyone is interested in any of those, you're welcome to contact me. Best way is probably either, finding me on Facebook, Julie OT Living. That's my profile name. You can also find the group that I will absolutely be continuing to reach out to and post about these different programs. That's Caregiving Through a Therapeutic Lens. And most direct, which is probably the best way actually, is just sending me a message through my email, julieotliving@gmail.com. So I welcome anyone who has questions or is interested in joining me for any of those programs. It is online based, so can be anywhere in the world. I will find time, and I look forward to talking with you guys soon.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for all the work you're doing. Thank you, Sarafin, for all the work you're doing. Ralph, you want to say a few closing words for this show?
I appreciate both of you being on the show today, Serafin and Julie. I look forward to talking to you again. I hope I can expand your worldwide goal there, Julie. So if you want to listen to Stroke Warrior Radio, go to strokewarriorradio.com, hit the listen button, or you can find us on any social media, pretty much Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube.
Yes,
Thank
and I
you for
think
having me.
our show is on Wednesdays, I believe, Wednesday, 3 p.m. and 3 a.m.
No, it's actually Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 p.m.
Oh, okay. Monday, Wednesday,
3
Friday.
a.m. and 3 p.m. I
Okay.
broadcast the audios of your shows.
Woo!
Hmm.
Yeah. So this will touch the world. It's touching the world now, but yeah, another former resource. Thank you so much, everybody. We're gonna close out. We always blow our kisses. Seraphin, thank you for joining us today. I know you have your video shut off. Julie, thank you for joining us. Ralph, it's always a pleasure to have you as co-host. You bring so much value and important conversation pieces to the show. We're blessed to have you a part of our family. Thank you for joining us today. Oh, there he is. We hope you have a stroke of luck today. What incredible two shows. They really were about caregiving and support and just showing people love. And we've had 4 wonderful guests on today. And if you want to join us for our comedy show, October 3rd, Friday, October 3rd, please join us. Please look on the website, RenéMarie'sLanguageOfLove.org. And go there and you can buy tickets. Jeff Norris is an incredible, hilarious comedian. I'm going to be opening up for Jeff, which I'm blessed. And we hope you'll join us. We're going to come together as a community to have a great time. So on 3, we always blow our kisses. And thank you so much for staying on for an extra 3 minutes. 1, 2, 3. Bye, everybody. Have a blessed day.
Bye.
Bye.
Yo no sé qué tú piensas, yo no sé lo que haré, yo no sé lo que estoy perdiendo, yo no sé lo que va a pasar. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti, no me puedes oír llorar. Caminaste por la puerta, todas las memorias fueron. Mi corazón está vacío. corazón sin ti.